are cold. Dark skin, light skin, medium tones. Pumping braids got mini afros. Thick lips got.
In today's episode, we will be talking about mental health and some resources to manage mental health as a grad student. As a grad student, your mental health can kind of be pushed to the side. It doesn't exist. But I'm here to remind you that yes, indeed, you need to take care of that thing, okay? A 2017 study found that 42% of grad students in the study thought that having a mental health issue was a normal part of the PhD journey. So today we kind of want to demystify some of that and talk about some resources that we can use to kind of combat some of these issues as they arise. And I have a mental health practitioner who kind of breaks down some things that we can do to prepare ourselves for the colder season and to kind of manage those stress moments and before it gets here, you know? And so that's the thing that I think is most important, is having a system. Okay, y'all, here we go. Wow, hello.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us today.
You are very welcome. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, of course. So would you like to just kind of tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Tenisha Simon. I am a nurse practitioner, a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, which means I see clients for medication management and also help with, lifestyle changes, some therapy. Yeah, I'm all about mental health.
Yes, thank you. We love mental health and we need that here.
Definitely.
Yes. So as we're approaching the colder season, what are some signs of seasonal depression and tips to manage it?
Sure. So seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorder is something that can happen, as it implies, during the change of seasons. Most people would get it during the colder seasons, but it can also happen to people in the spring and summer, depending on what you enjoy most, right? So the change of that, usually you find people if the lack of sunlight causes that for most people. So you can have mood changes, feeling more anxious, feeling lonely. That's a big source of it. Loss of interest in things that you usually enjoy. Mood swings, sadness are all things that you could see from seasonal affective. People change their sleep patterns, right? Now it's darker out, so you want to sleep more. You want to stay in bed longer. You'll find that, or people just don't want to leave their house or their apartments as much as they used to before. You change your diet, so it's easier sometimes to get up and make yourself meals and everything, but you don't feel as motivated when the seasons change. So you might find that people eat less during these months, and that could also in turn lead to some fatigue, because if you're not nourishing your body, then you will be more sluggish. The isolation, though, I think is the biggest issue, that most people will seek help because they realize, like, I'm more withdrawn, isolating from friends and family. So that's a big part of it. How to manage it? Try to get more access to light. There are things such as, like, you can get light therapy. So you actually get like a lamp, sit close in front of it, which is helpful. Try to set up your room in ways that you face outside and get as much sunlight as possible. Spend time, schedule time with family and friends, loved ones, just to make sure that you're not alone during this time. But then also you want to make sure that you're having the right vitamins. So vitamin D is a big thing because you get that mostly from the sun. You get it from your diet too, but you'll be lacking in the winter months. So taking a vitamin D supplement and making sure that you just nourish your body.
Okay, awesome. I love that. So that's something that's easy, like, you can kind of get some vitamins, get a new lamp, and just kind of prioritize that. Okay.
Yes.
That sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we want to talk a little bit about how race may play a role in mental health outcomes. I know that's a little bit into like my research interest too, particularly about the structures of racism that cause us to kind of experience mental health in a different way. So what can you say about that a little bit?
So in terms of like the prevalence of mental health issues, I think in the US, it happens almost the same amount for people of color and whites. It's just that the outcomes will be very different. Sometimes we have less access to care, depending on where you are in terms of like economic status, and you know that care isn't as good for people if you don't have the money. A lot of times you'll find providers who accept insurance, but sometimes it's self-pay only. And
is that common?
Yes, you can find people paying $150 to $200 a session to meet with someone for therapy, and that's a lot. You know, even if you are working, it's a lot. But if you're a grad student, I'm sure you don't have that just sitting around to keep spending. So it could be hard to manage your mental health. And the problem is that, as a Black person, as a person of color, you also have the history of trauma, and you probably have maybe there's some history of some violence that you've seen, or history of other like substance abuse. Everyone experiences that, but you know that the trauma comes from generations, right? For
Absolutely.
us, and the people who don't believe in mental health. So there's the stigma. Sometimes we access mental health care less just because, sometimes if you feel like people expect it, then you don't want to also make it known. So people hide that they need help. And then also sometimes we're misdiagnosed more. So, a person of color coming in and showing mood swings, someone may say, okay, yeah, that's definitely bipolar. But someone else, they may want to take the time to look in. Okay, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's anxiety. Maybe it's your trauma. Something happened to you, and that's why you're feeling this way or behaving that way. So sometimes we get judged differently. So it is important to have providers of color sometime to understand. Sometimes I feel like I get patients who seek me out just because they feel a little more comfortable talking to someone who looks like them or who may have similar experiences or life history to them. So I'm always trying to promote people to actually go into the field, right? Because we need more options.
Absolutely.
For care. It's very important.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then, I had a past experience with a therapist, and I felt like, there were some gaps, like some things that would have been implied if I had a Black therapist or somebody who at least took the care to, learn about some of the cultural differences. Right. So that's really a huge thing, because that's also another big part. Like, you can take, other psychologists and psychiatrists and mental health practitioners can take those steps to learn those skills to have more cultural awareness. Correct.
So cultural competence is an important thing. Like, you can learn about anything, right? That you really want to and take interest in. So you will find some providers who are they can work with anyone, and that's a skill. But it really takes someone caring enough to learn about other people and learning what would be best for them. So you're right. Sometimes it's good just to have a provider who is of the same race or religion as you, who has similar backgrounds. But other times, you're right. People can just teach themselves to be culturally competent.
Yeah. And so, we, as grad students, we kind of suffer with, and I'm sure you probably suffered with it too, throughout your schooling programs. It's like imposter syndrome. And how it might contribute to negative mental health outcomes for graduate students. So we just kind of want to talk a little bit about that and kind of ways to manage it, if at all.
Sure. Imposter syndrome is real. And the sad part about it is most times people are competent and you can do these things, but there's something in you that just tells you that you can't. And it's a real barrier because when you start to get these thoughts in your head, then you don't challenge yourself as much. You don't, you shy away from new experiences, and you don't have to, right? So you'll find that people, my biggest thing to people is, you got in. You're in this grad program. Someone chose you, I'm sure, over other people, right? So you should feel proud. But then also you should feel empowered that I can do this. So imposter syndrome, is telling you all the other things, right? Like, is it valid? Like, maybe there's an error. Maybe they picked me by mistake, you know? I'm unworthy of this.
How did I slip
I'm a
through the
fraud.
cracks?
Exactly. How did I slip through the cracks, and when will they find out
Yeah.
that I'm an imposter? That's usually how people are feeling. And it can lead to anxiety and depression and fear. And, you know, healthy ways to overcome that would be like actually trying to acknowledge who you are, your accomplishments, build a community of peers, like-minded peers. Try to associate yourself with mentors.
Yeah.
You know, people who can, who've been there.
Yeah.
You know, don't assume that the person who's now the leading expert on a topic was always at that point. They started somewhere else, right?
So true.
So you have to realize that growth happens and change happens, and that's why people excel. So you have to be open to that. If you have like support groups at school, and if you don't have one, make one. I'm sure you can organize something. You can listen to podcasts like these where you uplift people of color in grad school. But also take the time just to sometimes creating a gratitude journal. Yeah. Really looking at, okay, what am I thankful for? What have I accomplished? Daily motivational speeches to yourself. Little affirmations that you could say every morning. Wake up in the morning and just say, I'm great. You know, I am wonderful. I am powerful. Like, all these things that you could say to yourself.
Absolutely.
And it sounds silly at first.
No.
But then it grows on you, you know, like, okay, I am great. I am great. I am great. And after a while, you're like, yeah, I'm great.
Yeah, literally.
You know, you realize what your thoughts are. They become you. So, you know, you always say, like, manifest greatness into your life. So, I really believe in daily affirmations. It's like, it's your moment to be conceited, because you actually just acknowledge what you are, who you are in that moment. It's not a lie. It's what you are. So that's it.
Yeah, that's so true. That's literally so true, because I think I got to that point at one point where I was like, at first it was a little silly to like do affirmations, but then it felt really good. And then like I really started, like, even before I got into grad school, I was like, I'm a doctor, I'm a doctor, I'm a doctor. Yes. And then, like, you know, the materialization is there. Like, it's I'm not there yet, but I'm on the way, you know? So it's like, you know, that alone kind of, like, encourages me to just keep going, because it's like, you know, like, you can do this. And when I say that, I say, you can do this. And I also say, not only can you do this, you will.
Exactly.
And so that's the one. That's when I say that, I just get out the bed. I'm like, all right, let's go.
The motivation. That's right.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep, I can and I will.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that.
So we need to know, how do we pick a therapist, a mental health practitioner? Like, what are things we should be looking for?
I tell people to find someone like you're dating. So you need to be comfortable with this person, because you're opening up to them, and the only way that you can get the right care that you need is by being honest, true to yourself. So if you feel like this is someone that you want to impress, it's going to be very hard to be honest, right? So think about what you want to gain from seeking someone, who you would like to work with, whether that's some people like to work with someone who is very similar in race, religion, economic status. Other people, they veer totally off, and they're open to anything, or they want someone of opposite. And then how you like to learn, because that's very important in therapy. And with everything, some people are like, I want someone to just speak at me. Just keep telling me what I need to do, and eventually I'll pick it up. Right. Some people, they want to be challenged from the beginning. They may want homework. You know, if some people like authority and respect authority in different ways. So if you tell them, do the gratitude journal, do the daily affirmations, and I want you to write me a note and tell me that you did it. Some people, you find that they do it. Yeah. But some people, they want therapy where it's like, just sit back and kind of listen to me and be an ear, because I don't have that in my life. And sometimes, you know, what you need in therapy changes over time. Yes. So don't be afraid to change, you know. I tell people it's okay to break up with your providers, just like in a relationship. Sometimes you outgrow the person.
Yeah.
So if this is the style that works for you during this specific moment in life, that's good. And then now I need something else.
Right.
So don't be afraid of that. We get, you know, people change all the time. We get dismissed, and it's okay, because it's like, I feel happy when someone's like, oh, I don't think I need this anymore. I'm like, oh, good. Hopefully it worked, and that's why you're moving on. If you're just leaving because it's not helping you, that's healthy too, because you need to find what works for you. But we like when people graduate and change. That's good.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. I did not know that. Like, I don't know, like, what I know about, like, but yeah, okay. Because my therapist, she was really pushy when I, like, stopped coming. She was like, I don't understand why you're not coming anymore. And I'm like,
see, that's not healthy.
That was weird.
Yeah, that's not healthy. We need boundaries as much as we want our clients to have boundaries.
Right. Yeah, she was weird. So what are a few things someone could do on their own to cope with stress and depression if they don't have resources for a therapist? I know we talked a little bit about affirmations and taking vitamins and stuff like that, but anything else that, you know, you want to add?
I always start with the basics. So the self-care basics would be making sure that you eat well, eat healthy, I should say, and that includes breakfast, lunch, and dinner, hopefully. I know busy grad students, you guys are probably like grabbing and going, but try as best as you can to really eat well, because it goes a long way in your nutrition. Exercise, so trying to be physically active. I say at least 30 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week gets you going. You're like, do I get this? It's so important, because your body needs that little release.
It does.
And even though exercise sounds like work, it can also be the relaxation that you need from the other work that you're doing with your body. Right?
True.
Stay social. See friends, see family. Pencil people in on your calendar. You're busy, and I see black hair, but still, you have 30 minutes, check in with someone, meet up with someone and do something. Sleeping, you want to sleep.
Oh, I guess
7 to 8 hours, okay?
Yeah,
see?
I need that.
You need your sleep. Even that, if you have to, schedule it and make sure, because if you're watching and you're like, I'm getting 5-6 hours, that's not going to be good for you.
No,
it's not. So, you mentioned vitamins, minerals, those are all healthy things. Taking a break, scheduling breaks. So just like how, you know, sleep is one thing, but also just relaxing is important also.
But what does that like mean?
That means, I feel like it's a little turn off, right?
Okay.
For your brain. You don't have to be fast asleep. You don't have to be catching up on sleep at that time. You can really just be like with yourself. You know, taking that little bit of time. Like, I would get into aromatherapy and music therapy and just kind of relax yourself as best as you can. Because it's important. And you're working hard doing this. I know most grad students are not only in classes, you might be teaching, you might be working a job. Like, it's a lot. So you need to learn how to relax. So meditation, motivation, mindfulness, like getting into all those little practices that are free. Only takes a few minutes out of your day when you're a busy person, but you see the effects go a lot farther.
That's the key. I think it's just to, like, even if it's 5 minutes, like that's kind of the philosophy I had to go with for writing too, because I need to write like every day. Like, well, I still haven't gotten here yet, but like I should be writing every day, and like, you know, at least 5 minutes. Like, if you can't dedicate like 5 minutes, and then maybe you can do like 10 minutes. So it's the same thing. Like, if you can dedicate that time to your work, you can dedicate that 5 minutes to your mental health.
Yes.
Absolutely. So what are some long-term like implications of not managing stress early?
Well, the problem with stress is that stress really can affect every part of your body, right? So you may notice when you start to get stressed, like your hair can start getting thin, your skin, you get acne, you start breaking out, your bowel movements get off whack. You know, some people it's been a few days and they have not gone to the bathroom. And you could, like stress, constipation. Some people also have diarrhea from it. So you have to just take care of your body. There's weight gain, there's weight loss that you could see from stress. If you go to the doctor, they'll be like, let me check. You check your labs and you can notice like cortisol levels up. There are all these different things that stress is real.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are like, oh, it's okay. Like just relax if you're stressed. And that's not just, it's not a quick solution or something you can do just that easily. But it's important because it can have long-term effects. Anxiety can build up. Depression. Depression, we define depression as like loss of motivation, loss of interest, changes to your eating, sleeping, your social habits. So you'll see that when you become stressed. So it's very important to keep up on your self-care measures to make sure you don't get there. You don't want your heart, your liver, everything being weighed down on because of stress.
Yeah, and it's like it is actually all linked. Like I feel like stress is like one of the like number one killers. Like I don't like, because it just compounds over time,
right?
And sometimes you just don't even know, like, and that like worries me,
right? So take it easy. Take it easy. Don't let that stress build up. Knowing your boundaries is very important, and it's a way to make sure that you try to avoid stress as best as you can, or limit stress, I would say.
Boundaries are really important, like especially like in grad school, because you will like sometimes like people will just ask you to keep doing things. And if you don't really have that like strong boundary, like, or like, so okay, that's a good question. So how do we like, establish boundaries sometimes with people that might be like an authority figure for us? Like, that can be hard because it doesn't seem like a request. It seems like you must do this.
right. And that's a challenge because you want to be firm and clear with why you need certain things. So if someone is asking you, add this onto your work, I know you have all of this due, but get this done to me as soon as possible. It's like, I think it's healthy to say that, for my mental health, I need additional time, or I need to pace myself at a rate that's acceptable to me to give quality work, right? So it's hard to share that when someone's in authority, but someone credible should understand.
They should.
They should respect that. They should respect you and your honesty. But it's important to not continue doing that, because also you get into a pattern of accommodating others, and my mental health isn't as important as getting this done, or I'll do this and this and this, and then I'll check in with myself later. And you don't want it to become too late, right? Because then you notice burnout. Then you notice that someone has to take a semester off because they've done too much, right? So it is important to intervene at the right time and just set the limit. Not asking you to be rude or anything. I can't believe you're giving me this again. It's not like that. It's always how you do things. So if you do things respectfully and just, genuinely, like, it will be too much for me. I want to do this. This is why you're here. You're here because you have a special interest. You have something that you're going to share with the world at the end of it, but you have to make it there. So you have to be there for the long run.
That's true. That's so true. So you got to prioritize your mental health, people.
Yes.
So we can change the world.
That's right.
Okay. I don't know if we kind of addressed this earlier, but this is just my last question for you.
Okay.
What are some steps we can take to prepare ourselves to manage stress and depression before we get it? I think we kind of talk through that. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add, any final.
Okay. So you said, what are some ways to manage stress and everything before
you get there?
Before you get to anxiety and depression. Knowing your resources is very important, right? So sometimes people get to these points because they can't recognize the signs of what's going on. So when you start to see like depression is not just I feel sad today, you know, it's happening over time. Things are building up. Your behaviors are changing. You're being more withdrawn. You're not eating well. You're not sleeping well. All of those symptoms are coming together to cause this thing. So you have to know what healthy mental health looks like for you. You have to know who can help you address these problems when you get to it. You don't want to wait until you're in a crisis to then seek help. So just knowing the school resources, who's around you, knowing what the different professionals do, right? If you don't understand a therapist, from a nurse practitioner, from a psychiatrist, from a mental health counselor, it'll be hard for you to then approach someone when you're already feeling down, scared, and honestly stigmatized. Right? So just knowing is half the battle. Right? That's how you prepare yourself as best as you can.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Is
You're
there
welcome.
any final thing, like anything at all? Like, it doesn't have to be like, you know, just anything you want to say before we go?
What would I say to a bunch of grad students?
Yes.
You are important. What you're doing is important. Great ideas come from grad school. And whatever made you passionate enough to do this, you have to keep doing it. Pursue it as best as you can, because it'll be your life's work. You know, someday it's gonna be like, oh, here, you serve it on a platter. This is my hard work that I'm giving to you. So take care of yourself and keep going. You can do it.
We can do it. Yes. Not only can we do it, we will.
Yes,
I love that. Thank you. Oh,
welcome.
tell us where we can follow you, social media.
Sure. So my practice is called Radiating Joy Mental Health Services, and you can find me on Instagram, Passion Fruit NP, and yeah, that's the best way.
And it'll all be linked in the bio, in the caption. So don't worry if you didn't write that
you.
down, but it'll be there. Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, that's a wrap.
There's pen black girls in my area code. Dark skin, light skin, medium tones. Pumping braids got mini afros. Thick lips got hips, some of us don't.